Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. We're excited that you've joined us as we have a conversation.
It's time to join the conversation.
All right, welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. I'm your host, Chet Sears. With me, as always, is Troy. With me sometimes is Matt, but he's back in studio.
He is back.
All right, he's
Crowd
back.
pleaser.
Yes.
You hear all that?
They are participating in this. Our listeners are excited right now.
This is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Yes. Not quite. Not quite. So we've got an exciting show for you today. It's a somewhat cringy show for you today as well because
I believe the kids call it cringe.
our top three people with Rizz, and that stands for charisma, but how the kids use it in today's day and age is flirty behavior.
I like charisma.
I thought it was charisma and flirty too.
The boomer definition is, charisma. The kids use it as, I'm going to rizz up this girl. I'm going to go flirt with this girl.
Oh, I got top three. Yeah.
Okay. So that's cringe.
Well, I would say that we're in between. We're not necessarily boomers. Maybe you're closer than the either two of us here.
That's correct.
Technically, none of us are baby boomer generation.
But you're close.
No.
So, but we're kind of in the middle between the younger and the older generation, and so it doesn't matter how you take it. I mean, if you see dudes that you think flirt really good, I mean, you call them out. I'm just calling out people that have that charisma that you're just.
We're going to do the top three. I'm not.
To, you know
I'm going to participate.
I know you are.
Just calm down.
I know you are.
Calm down.
I know you are.
You got a lot of pent up energy.
Oh, there's some.
You should have been in studio for the last couple weeks. This is all. You need to get it out of your system before you come into the studio at Trussell Media Studios.
I can't.
Well,
I don't have anywhere else to dispose of this pent up aggression.
So we're gonna So one of the newer things, and we're trying to keep a little bit more abreast of current events for our listeners, and we're actually getting more downloads. So we're thinking we're going down the right path here. But it is.
Thanks for listening, by the way.
It's the week of the Democratic National Convention.
Yeah.
The old DNC
in Chicago.
Let's go.
And we're recording a couple days before this releases, but they had President Biden give his farewell address last night. They had a whole lot of people before him talk. I've noticed, and again, this may be not true from the whole perspective, but I've seen a couple of videos where Jill Biden is no longer lovey-dovey with Joe Biden anymore, like not waiting around for him to help him up the stairs. He's
not the head chief anymore.
And so, which seems like that's some of the motivation there. But one of the things we have not covered yet, we did make a few comments, Broughton did in our last episode about J.D. Vance not being the greatest of guys. We did not know Tim Walz was going to be the vice presidential candidate for the Democratic nomination. And now he is. And there's a couple things we wanted to talk about with him, his record, because he happens to be one of the more liberal governors. He was the governor of the state of Minnesota. And he also served in the National Guard in Nebraska and then Minnesota. And there's been some accusations thrown around about stolen valor, which is a pretty harsh accusation. Some of it may be misunderstanding. Some of it may be, quote, misspeaking from the Harris campaign. But I wanted to get your input on a little bit of that. And then after we cover those two things, Matt will close us out with a good word. So, Tim Walz, stolen valor?
Take it away, Matt.
Oh, we're just going to put this all on me.
Well, I'll cover his voting record.
So, definition of stolen valor states it involves falsely claiming military service, rank, recognition, or even someone else's identity. While it's not technically illegal just to make things up, for example, to impress friends at a party, stolen valor is more complicated than that, which is why it's considered a crime. Now, do I think it's stolen valor. No.
So he has lied about his rank. That's not stolen valor.
I don't know. I don't know that he actually, I don't know. I don't know that he lied about his rank or if it was just somebody took it and that's what they started calling him and they made the mistake or something like that. And it just, it is what it is. It's, to me, it's stolen valor would be claiming some type of service that you didn't do. I mean, the dude spent 24 years in the National Guard, which as a Marine, active duty, I could make fun of even for 24 years, but I don't think that there was any malicious intent behind it personally.
Okay. So are you familiar with the Army ranks?
No, not really. I know that they've got a confusing structure there towards the top.
Yeah. He, command sergeant major.
So CSM,
which the way I've read this is that at one point in his career, he reached the rank of command sergeant major, but when he retired, he did not retire at the command sergeant major. It was like a master sergeant rank. It was a rank down because he had not completed all of the requirements to be a command sergeant major in retirement.
Right. So kind of like in the Marine Corps, you get, and I don't know if it's the same because I didn't stay in long enough. I wasn't in long enough to have to deal with this, but a lot of times you frock somebody so you get frocked for sergeant major, and you may still be, first sergeant or whatever, but you get frocked. And so now you're going to be one, but
you're not one yet.
You're not one yet.
So if you had been frocked that and you retired without actually achieving it, what would you call yourself to other people?
I would have to go back to that last rank.
He didn't do that.
So
the campaign.
But again, I don't know how they worked that. And again, I mean, you're talking a rank that he attained. He didn't finish the school, whatever, or didn't finish the requirements, but he was selected for that. So
what if he's on that path and then he's like, oh, I got to go take these classes. And then they're like, hey, by the way, we're going to deploy and go to Iraq. And he's like, I'm out. And he retires as fast as he can, knowing he's not going to complete his stuff and knowing that he's not going to get the command sergeant major retirement package just so he could get out to avoid from going overseas.
Well, and again, for me, at 24 years of being, either a command sergeant major or whatever rank he was still a pogue. So he's not a trigger puller. So it doesn't really matter. Like there's somebody that's going to fill in his job. I don't think that he's a coward. I think it's just, you get to that point in your career and it's like, okay, it's time to go. Like, and I get it. You want to, you in an infantry world, I would think absolutely. Like
he was in the artillery. Is that a pogue?
Yes, that's support for grunts.
What does a pogue mean?
Personnel other than a grunt.
Okay, and a grunt is somebody that goes out and shoots at bad guys.
Basically, in the Marine Corps, it's an 03.
Like face to face.
Face to face. So, like, it's your infantry battalions, which would be, your 0311s, your riflemen, your mortarmen, assaultmen, machine gunners, stuff like that. People that are on the ground fighting the fight, not somebody, in artillery that's, 10 miles away launching rockets or whatever artillery they launch. So, to me, big deal, whatever. It's not that big of a deal to me. Like, commands change all the time. Would it, and again, they're just nitpicking at this point. They're trying to find something to kind of tear him down. And hey, good for him. He served 24 years.
So, okay. And then another question, when he was talking about his being a proponent of gun control.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I haven't seen that, but go ahead.
Okay. He said, we can make sure that those weapons of war, he's talking about AR-15s.
Enforced.
No, he's specifically talking about assault style weapons and he said, quote, "We can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place that those weapons are at."
Okay.
That a little shady that he never served overseas, that he's saying he carried weapons in war?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's not a trigger puller, and then so if he never deployed, then yeah, I mean that's and again, but they're all these politicians are the same. It's really no different. I mean, building yourself up to make it seem like something you're not in order to get a position of yours more notoriety or gain more traction, I guess.
Yeah.
Everybody does it. I say everybody, but all the politicians do it. So it doesn't matter. Everything is trumped up. Always.
So coming from a combat veteran, you're saying you're not offended any more than you would be from any other politician that could be misremembering or embellishing any part of their career, whether that was in the military or not.
Yeah, I mean, big deal. It doesn't really bother me that much. I would prefer just to stay on policy and not attack somebody's character, not attack somebody's military service over. I mean, granted, there may be some misspeakings in there, like I carried in war, and okay, well you didn't go to war, so whatever. But let's look at what you're actually doing instead of attacking somebody's military service. Because I mean, granted, even though he didn't deploy to a combat zone in 24 years, he started in 1981. I did see that. In that 24 years, there was always that potential, and it didn't happen. So,
it did, and he got out before he had to go.
Right, but at the end of 24 years, he's not a trigger puller. He's not going to be doing anything special, and there are about 10 people that can take his job.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's hurting anybody by not being there.
Right. So there's some people that were in his unit that said it wasn't a big deal. There's some people in his unit that said it was a big deal. He's a coward. Whatever. They can have their own. But again, see, I think that's more of what side of the political aisle you fall on. So, or whether or not he disciplined you when you were in the unit, and now you're trying to get back at him.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, screw that guy.
Yeah,
he wrote me up on a page 11 or an NJP. Whatever. So
you ever been written up on an NJP, Troy?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Non-judicial punishment.
Okay, I've been written up at school a lot.
Oh, you got some of those then.
Yeah, it was called go to ISS, in school suspension though.
It's kind of the same thing a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of close, but that doesn't affect your pay or your rank or anything like that. And NJP does.
So here's you may go down the path I think you're going to go, or maybe not. But there's been some pushback from Walt's supporters that say he's embellishing, that you can't call him out because you didn't serve on him embellishing that. And then they're getting really mad at Vance, because Vance is like, that dude is straight up trying to steal accolades or Valor because when he didn't do anything to earn the Valor. And what did Vance do? Well, he was deployed in Iraq, but he was also a combat correspondent and not a grunt, even though he was in the Marine Corps.
Right.
What do you know about Marine Corps combat correspondents?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Some of those people, we always, combat camera, basically he was a journalist for the Marine Corps. So we had combat camera with us. They would go out with us. They would do interviews. They'd, whatever. They might go out on patrol occasionally, but they're not trigger pullers.
Right.
If stuff goes down, they
go back.
They're more of a liability to us than they are.
Get to the back of the line
at that point.
Yeah. Keep your head down.
But again, for Vance to be, as a pogue himself, to be attacking somebody else with 24 years of service when he only did 4, he got out as a corporal. I mean, he's a boot. Shut up. How about you two just, embrace the brotherhood and focus on the issues instead of oh, I did this and I did this. Cause I mean, at that point, hey, Trump, guess what? Why don't you go with me as your VP? Cause I actually did some
Stuff.
I actually did some stuff. So like, if that's, and that's what irritates me. It's like, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You never served in the military, so you don't have a right to say anything. Shut up. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. You can take facts from both sides and read and be like, okay, I can form my own opinion.
Yeah.
That's what an intelligent person does. I don't have any idea how to do, a lot of stuff, but I have an opinion on it. Like,
Right.
Space program. What do you think? Good or bad? Should we go to space? Well, we kind of been there.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do we do?
Well, if you're not in Space Force, you can't have an opinion.
Well, or you're not Neil Armstrong. You're not an astronaut. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think the stars are cool. You can't say that because you aren't an astronaut.
Yeah. But one thing so our non-military listeners, if you have picked up, so there is a general, and this is Matt. This is not all military people, but there's a general. Yeah, we're glad you signed up. I don't care what your political opinions are, but if you signed up for the military, good for you. But there's also a hierarchy, whether or not you were a grunt or whether or not you were
100%. Yeah, and wwhether you're a Marine grunt or an Army grunt, there's a big difference there because Marines are better.
Yeah.
But it's just you can get the rib, the internal inter service back and forth, which is always it's always fun. Right. To give the Army crap, to give the National Guard crap. And then we all give the Coast Guard crap. Like it's all fine, but when you're doing it on a level of, hey, I'm going to be the vice president of this country and I'm going to represent this country. Don't trash each other on that level. Good natured ribbing back and forth. Perfect. I think that would be fun to see between two vice presidential candidates. Hey, National Guard, way to pick up my trash, whatever. Hey, Marine, go eat another crayon. I think that would be perfect to see on that, and bring people together instead of, wow, let's just really separate service and try to trash people as much as we can instead of focusing on, here's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Here's what I'm going to do. Let the people decide.
Right. Okay.
It irritates me to no end when.
So if you happen to be a, non-military, any association, affiliation whatsoever, and you want to badmouth Tim Walz's military service,
feel free.
You feel free, but you're an idiot.
What?
But you're an idiot if you do.
Well, I think you're an idiot if you trash anybody's service, unless.
Right. And I'm just specifically calling out Tim Walz's service. If you're like a hardcore Republican, you're like, hey, just let the man. Yeah. He served in the military for 24 years.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, hardcore conservative, you're going to defend Vance. I mean, the dude did 4. That's
as a boot or whatever you call them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a boot until your first deployment, and okay. He's still boot to me. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
go meet the vice president at boot. But. I mean, and again, we trump these things up to draw these lines that people need to choose to be on one side or the other. And that's the problem that we are facing with American politics is it's like, hey, I don't know a whole lot about the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't even know his name until 3-4 weeks ago. And so it's like, now you're wanting me to trash this guy or have an opinion about this guy that whatever. I don't know where he stands on the policies but let's focus on that.
Okay. Well, let's go into policies then.
Okay.
I have been told by the people that I follow, not everyone, but that this dude has been like the most liberal governor of all time in the state of Minnesota, which is actually very middle of the road. They can go either way any year, and they've had some pretty conservative governors over time and some pretty liberal ones. So instead of digging into what I would consider to be extremely biased opinions on, because I could dig up some dirt. Actually, I started to. To be fair, let's just say what mainstream comments that are out there that are not motivated to tear anybody down or probably to build somebody up, I guess. I'm going to get all the content I'm bringing you today comes from CNN. So I would say that it is not biased against Walz. If anything, if it was biased at all, it would be biased in his favor. So let's just get down to the issues themselves. Free college tuition. He signed a bill into law last year that says if you are a student in a family that earns less than $80,000 a year, you get free college tuition. It's called the North Star Promise Scholarship. So this is a scenario where clearly they're taking the money from families that pay into taxes and then giving them to families that make under $80,000 a year to have them go to college for free. I'm not a huge fan of that.
But this says he also cut taxes for working families. His website page.
I'm not using his website to.
Oh no, I'm just bouncing that off.
Okay. But just so you know, it's not like Minnesota's the only state to offer free tuition for students. Louisiana did this way back 20 years ago.
I used it.
They didn't use taxpayer dollars for that. They used corporate tax. So the oil companies that they have there's plenty of revenue coming in from the drilling operations and refining operations, and that's what they use to cover the tuition for students. You could argue that's being paid by everybody else because those costs are going to be in the product itself. One of the things I think that really stands out is Minnesota does have, and he signed in January of 23, the most free or unlimited abortion bill of all the states. So basically, if you're in Minnesota, you can get abortion whenever you want. Their law even protects people coming from out of state where abortion is illegal, coming in to get any abortion they want. It's very, and I did, and again, I'm not going to quote this but I have done some research into this, and the wording of the bill, it doesn't necessarily limit it to like pregnant women. It could be if the baby is born and it was an attempted abortion, that you're free to go ahead and kill it. Actually, it doesn't say you're free to kill it. You're free to not provide it care is how that bill's worded.
Basically, so, you just let it die.
Let it die. Yeah. You don't have to, you're not forced to provide care. So that's a little bit extra here, but it is, CNN is saying, yes, it is one of the most pro-abortion access states in the country. Another thing, he signed in March of 23 an executive order that they need to protect and support all Minnesotans for seeking gender-affirming care health services. This is real big on the LGBTQ plus, more on the T and plus community, to give every possible thing that they can to support gender affirming care. This actually turned into providing menstrual cycle products in all the school bathrooms, because even to quote CNN here, that for both girls and boys, and it's not all students who menstruate are female is in the bill.
Oh my gosh.
And some of the Republicans in the state labeled him after this Tampon Tim, because he wanted tampons to be in the men's bathrooms, which is really crazy from that perspective. And again, taxpayer dollars going towards that. He did pass a universal school meal program, so basically all your school meals are free, and it is one of the things that CNN does report here. Some of the costs associated with the programs that he has signed up for are absolutely astounding. So that program in and of itself is a $400 million investment I guess you could say, are cost to the state. We get into some of this gender affirming care. It's like $150 million. The college tuition thing is a substantial cost to the taxpayers in Minnesota as well. So there's a lot of, the government is going to provide all this for you. The child tax credit. So here's something that we agree on. The state child tax credit, he expanded that. So it was already in place, but he expanded it to be up to $1,750 per kid with no limit on the number of children claimed. So that's a big impact for families. So one of the things that I really do appreciate about the child tax credit is that it encourages families to have kids, which we need to have more kids to keep up with everything that's going on. The funny thing about it is that J.D. Vance mentioned he wanted to increase the child tax credit, and they slammed him because they rephrased it to say he wants to tax people who don't have kids more. So your childless cat ladies need to pay more in taxes. And so the whole national media went after him. But since we know that Tim Walz did this in Minnesota a year ago, and we also know that the Harris campaign has come out and said that they also want to increase the child tax credit. And then it's a week later, then they slam Vance. They talk about how pro-family Harris is, which is a little hypocritical. So all in all, there's some other stuff here around paid family medical leave, which is another huge cost to the state, where you can get up to 12 weeks of medical family leave paid for, up to 20 weeks in a 12-month period. Depending upon, again, you don't know how much your pay is. It depends on the job that you had, but that's a pretty interesting expense I think the businesses will have in the state. Now, the way I like to look at that, and I actually work for a company that does offer a pretty good parental leave policy, but that's to be competitive in the market. Like there's a choice to make to say that we know that workers who have families tend to work harder. They're put together. They're not as easy. They're not just going to fly around and job shop. And there's an investment that the company's willing to make to be attractive to those families. And so in this case, it's not up to the competition to drive that. It is the state mandating it. So that's going to be a cost to companies that may not be able to afford it. One of the other things that I agree with him on, voting rights for ex-felons. So basically, if you serve your time, you will gain back the ability to vote. I think it's been years since I looked into that, but I mean, I know quite a few ex-felons, and I think they've served their time, and they ought to get
If that's
back.
the sentence that you were given,
serve
that
it
sentence,
and be done.
You're done.
Yep. So anyway,
welcome back.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a couple of the highlights, trying to be as fair as possible and give you some balanced feedback on our Democratic vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, who's running with one of the craziest people in the world, Kamala Harris. So no way consider any of this as an endorsement, but I'm just trying to have some political discourse without flaming anyone. So that's where we are with old Tim.
Yeah, we're so screwed. It doesn't matter.
It's bad.
Either way. It's so funny because, the people, and again, the media, social media, they're just nitpicking at literally everything. And they're trying to pick apart the way somebody says something. And we know that Harris can't get 3 words out without cackling, and it just annoys me. And I can't listen to her.
Have you seen the accusations about her being drunk all the time now?
I would not doubt it. I don't know.
Well,
but
she's not helping herself with the way she's slurring her speech in some places, but yep, I'm with you.
I mean, and who knows the hours that those people keep too. You could be running on fumes, and you're just. I've been there too, so I don't know, but and then you got Trump just a few days ago saying that and people blowing something out of proportion again when he's saying getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom is better than getting the Medal of Honor.
Yeah,
and it's like idiot. I get it. Nobody wants to get the Medal of Honor. That's not something you want. And typically it's a bad situation that gets you awarded.
Yeah.
That. I understand what he meant, but he's not a clear.
Yeah, just keep your mouth shut in those cases.
He's not a clear speaker.
Right.
So, he's I think he's good at what he does. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like, Biden said some really crazy stuff too, but I get kind of what he was trying to say, but I'm not going to pick it apart and, question him, other than some stuff was very apparent that it was cognitive with Biden.
Yeah. It's like, give that guy a pass. He didn't even know he was talking.
Trump just starts talking and then the brain doesn't catch up.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, bro, come on, man. But I know what he meant, so I'm not going to tear him apart on it. Now you got all these, people that are trying to just tear it apart. And it's like, all you're doing is furthering that division between people. Because I truly think that this could be our last election. Like, I think we're at that point.
Okay. That's interesting. May have to dig into that more in a different episode.
We might. I don't see a way out.
You're assuming that we're going to have an election this time, though.
I am assuming that, yeah. And it may be too much of an assumption, but yeah.
That's fun. Hey, we're going to jump into our top 3.
All right.
Troy, why don't you give us your top 3 people with Rizz?
Troy's here.
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast, Troy.
You're welcome. Political stuff. Yeah. Not my jam. Top 3 people with the best Rizz.
The most amount of Rizz.
The most amount of Rizz.
Or as we post-boomers will say, charisma.
No.
Or as the kids say, Rizz.
All right.
Okay.
Number 3, Travis Kelce.
Okay. Whatever you say, man. I'm learning from you on this.
He's got some Rizz.
Yeah, he's dating the wealthiest female in the entertainment industry to ever walk the planet. So I guess he's got a little bit of Rizz.
I'm not arguing.
I will say when he gets a touchdown, that boy does not dance like he's white.
Okay. So not dancing like you're white. I think that you've got Rizz.
I think that's Rizz.
I just thought it was a good dance.
I think the brothers spit a better game than the white boy. Just to be honest, but
okay.
They can do that gritty a lot better. I'll tell you that much. I tried to do the gritty. I look like a freaking idiot.
I can't because I don't have knees.
That's true.
You have a knee.
I don't have knees.
You gotta have 2 knees.
Okay,
not 1.
All right. Well, who's next?
Number 2, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, for sure.
He's
quick-witted.
Quick wit.
Very quick-witted.
Wit and Rizz aren't the same thing.
Oh, yes, it is. They go hand in hand.
I would agree that they maybe not hand in hand, but they're on the same playing field.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's got some Rizz.
Because you got to have quick wit to spit some game.
That's right. Pick up those ladies. And then number 1, Ryan Gossling.
Okay. All right.
I haven't seen too much with him.
You know what?
He's got some Rizz, some swagger.
If I was editing this, which I don't, you do all the hard work in putting all this together, I would dub in top 3 men I have a crush on. because everything that you say is like, this is what makes him attractive to me. After that, that's what it sounds like. I like Travis Kelce because he can dance.
They get the ladies.
Ryan Reynolds is witty.
All I'm saying is it doesn't matter. It's not like it's not in a homo way. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Can you say homo anymore?
Yeah.
I just did. So like, it's to me, like I look at that and you got somebody, you know, you're in a board meeting and you got somebody with that charisma that can just contain a room. Like they're very electric. They captivate their audience.
Let's hear your three.
So, number one, Jack Nicholson. That dude, I don't know if you've ever seen like interviews or like him at Lakers games or, you know, if somebody like the one I saw just recently was Jennifer Lawrence was doing an interview and all he did was walk up and she looked over like, holy cow, that's Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
You know, like she was starstruck.
Yeah, maybe a level famous and not Rizz.
But there's still that charisma because he's always got.
Maybe he got famous because he had it.
Maybe because he's got the dark glasses. He's always wearing the shades inside. So there's, you know, so automatically there's a mysterious
attraction.
Something that's.
I need to know him more. Why is he distant?
But then he walks up and he's like, "Hey, I really liked you in that show."
Yeah.
But he's using that fame that he's already got,
right,
and knows that hey.
Okay. All right.
Plus, he's super cool, right? So like these are people that I just think are just like really cool that it'd be funny to hang out with just because I think they're like they would be fun to have a conversation with and just kind of sit there because they're going to provide that entertainment for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Number two, Jeff Goldblum.
Okay.
That dude, if you've seen him on Hot Ones.
I have not watched that one yet.
Oh my goodness. That's he just sits there. He's so calm. His voice is like soothing. Like
his voice is butter.
Like I could listen to him and just go to sleep. Like, because it's just, he's so calming.
He's got that ASMR voice.
For sure. But the calming effect that he brings to an interview when he's talking and the way that he always tells the other person that they're great and never takes any credit towards himself. He's always talking about somebody else or saying, you're doing a great job, you know, and
okay.
Just seems like a really genuine, nice guy to me. And number one would fit the kid's definition of Rizz, and that is Craig Fergison. That dude in any interview that I've seen, when he interviews a female, the females are
swooning.
Like they stumble over words.
You know who he's talking about?
Yeah.
It's completely opposite. Like normally, like me, you know, I stumble over words or whatever, and that's what he does to these chicks. Like it's so funny to me. Like I don't get it.
Can you say chicks anymore?
I just did.
A lot more approved than the other one.
Chicks is better than homo apparently, but whatever.
All right, number 3, John Mayer.
Yeah,
he's like 15 years ago.
Well,
Jack Nicholson's like 60 years ago anyway. So
Jack Nicholson is still today.
Vanessa Carlton, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Rona Mitra, Jessica Simpson, Minka Kelly, Jennifer Aniston. I don't know those two. Kim Kardashian, Taylor Swift, Renee Zellweger, Katy Perry.
These are
Natalie
all
Morales
chicks that he's dated.
All been his girlfriend. Yeah. So apparently he's got some Rizz.
He's got some game
in Hollywood.
Sounds like a slut to me.
I'm going to tell you what.
Can you say slut?
Yes, you can. You just did. So, like, but I think part of that is if you I don't even know that you have to play
guitar. Yeah.
I think as long as you strap one on your back.
He can play, though.
That dude is good.
He is. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. He can play. He can play.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it starts, is they see that guitar and they're like, oh, musician, and then he's very good at what he does.
His human nature at Michael Jackson's going away ceremony after he died.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
Oh my gosh. Go watch that. Like,
do you know he also has a very outspoken his addiction to pornography, he's very outspoken about it.
I have not.
Not in a very good way, but he does.
He also has gone on tour with Dave Chappelle, like to do comedy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd
Like,
love
he
to
does,
see
he
that.
does like stand up on the side or something. I don't know.
Dude,
Did you ever see the Chappelle
Chappelle
show? Did you ever see the Chappelle
Oh,
show?
gosh.
Yeah, he had
I've
one
seen
about
every episode,
Drums and
drums in a
electric-
barbershop
and
or
electric
white
guitar.
people in drums or something like that. That's a
So
pretty
let's
good skit.
try the electric guitar, and everybody's like, what? And then starts the drum and get the grooving,
Yeah.
and then he goes, well, let's see how white people react. And then,
It's pretty
throwing chairs and breaking stuff over people's.
So number 2, which tells me I kind of understood the assignment here. Number 2, Craig Fergison.
There you go. Yeah,
That dude
can talk,
If there was Rizz, he's got it. He's a married man.
right? But somehow,
Yeah. And number 1, and this is just by the way he carries himself in public. And it's more of not that everybody swoons after him. He's just like, I don't care about anybody else. And that's somewhat, I guess people are somewhat drawn to that. Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. When he walked, I saw him in concert. And when he walked out on the stage, we were at the, where the Louisiana Hayride used to be.
Oh,
The
at the
Metropolitan or
yeah.
whatever it's called.
The Hirsch.
No. Like, it's a theater, not a
I don't
Coliseum.
know. Beef. Leave a comment.
Anyway, we paid for the top row. This is back when we were like dual income, no kids, and because that's what we could afford, dual income, no kids. And he walked on that stage, knowing that everybody in there paid more than $100 for every ticket, and knew that everybody in there was getting a deal because he's about to, perform better than what they expected. And then that time that he's on the red carpet and somebody's like, oh my gosh, Jerry Seinfeld, I love you so much. Can I have a hug? It was like a famous person.
No.
And he was like, no,
No, thanks.
I'm not. And then,
No, thanks.
And she was like, what, really? And he's like, no, I'm not. And then she walked away like embarrassed. And he's like, who was that? And they were like, oh, it's Kesha, who at the time was like this very popular female singer. And he's just like, I never heard of her. I don't care. I don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
I
just
know
give
who
away
that is.
hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway. All right.
That's awesome.
I guess we get it.
Maybe
Yeah.
you got it a little bit.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Craig Fergison, being a married man, I don't know how his wife puts up with it.
Oh, I don't either.
Because that dude, I mean, unbelievable.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
How his guests swoon.
He still has his talk show.
I know. No,
No.
he's done.
I wish that they would bring him back as more of like a late show instead of a late or a late.
He's good.
He's such a
He's
good.
funny.
He's kind of like he's a really good interviewer but he doesn't have to say a whole lot.
It's not the routine. Come in here, tell me about your movie. We're just going to churn you out. That's what we do to promote movies or albums or whatever else. You have a genuine conversation with somebody. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen him on quite a few podcasts recently. He's very open about how he was an alcoholic and
His
recovered
addiction
and he has a lot of value into the conversation there. So anyway, all right, Matt, you got a good word for us?
I do. And it goes back to what I was saying before about the talking about one side and trying to convince people about one side, and basically trashing people for political gain. And I don't care if you are that politician that's running, or if you are a voter like myself who's trying to convince somebody else. Don't care. So the good word today comes out of Matthew 7:12. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law of the prophets. The golden rule, folks.
So don't distort things to make somebody look worse than they actually are. You don't want somebody doing that to you.
Nope. I would like to be treated. I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated, and I would appreciate the same in return.
Yeah.
And I think if we get back to that golden rule, how much better, at least from a starting point, how much better are we going to be?
I think one of the candidates that is out there that, and we don't need to continue this episode any longer, that you could say has been, let's just talk about the issues, has been RFK Jr.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't agree with him on every position. But
No, not at all.
But the way he handles himself and the way that this is
everything but the baby bears. Yeah. But we talked about that.
And we talked about that. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other, that was a whole text string.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
I got it here. Thanks for listening.
Keep bringing up candidates. I don't know. Let's get out of here.
Good grief. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.